have to tell you this, but we have with us one of the greats. This man has had one of the most exciting and interesting and varied careers in the history of cinema, and I'd like to give you some idea of why. Among his films, It's Not Just You, Murray, directed in 1964. Oh. He's the montage director of Elvis on Tour in 1972. He directed Michael Jackson's Bad video. He's the producer of The Grifters, as well as You Can Count on Me. He has acted the role of Vincent van Gogh in Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. And he's done a few other things you might recognize, but I'll leave that to you. I think you know who he is. He is a great force in the preservation of old films, and so I'd like to invoke an old film right now. I'd like to bring up It's a Wonderful Life, in which the measure of a man is taken by imagining what it would be like if he hadn't been doing what he was doing. Try to imagine the world of film if Marty Scorsese had not changed it in the ways that he did. Robert De Niro might have had a good career as an actor, but it wouldn't have been anything like what it turned out to be. The gangster film in America would have taken an entirely different course. We would not have The Sopranos on television. We would not have so many film students, I don't think, because I think he inspired a lot of them. And our films wouldn't look so good. He was the one who went to Eastman Kodak in the 70s and made them improve the film stock so that it wouldn't fade. So we're very glad he did all the things that he did, and we're thrilled to have him here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shai.
If you were starting today, though, if you wanted to make It's Not Just You, Murray today, or whatever else you were going to do in the early days, the kind of work that you started doing in the corporate film atmosphere of today, except for Harvey, of course,
yeah.
What would it be like for you starting now?
Well, I think the same. Let's see. If I had been coming from the same background, which meant that I had no access to cameras.
Same situation,
same
ideas,
my parents are working class people, never had a camera in the house, never, not even a still camera. No exposure to literature and that sort of thing, mainly just exposed to films on television and films in theaters. No theater was too expensive, I think, was not in the cultural thing. I think I would have to do, the only way I would know, and even now it's amazing, there are so many of them, well, you have to go to a film school. I mean, the idea would be to get your hands on equipment. Get your hands on equipment to work. The equipment is one thing. What I found in the film school, and this was a different situation, this was not School of the Arts that we know now at NYU. This was Washington Square College, and the Haig Manoogian was one of the professors there, and he would run these film courses. In 1960 I went. That's 42 years ago?
Great sound.
What happened? How was that? Jesus. Wow. I was always safe saying 30 years, now it's 40 years, my God. Anyway, this guy, I mean, basically at Washington Square College, for the first 2 years you took liberal arts courses and that sort of thing. You had maybe one class in film, and the first class was a full year, 2 semesters, of just film history, in which you would weed out the people. I'm trying to give you a short answer, I'm trying to cut to it, but what happened was that even if you get your hands on the equipment, I think what was important that clicked with me at that school, ultimately in the junior year, where I was allowed to take a little more of cinema classes in a sense, was the relationship with Haig Manoogian as a mentor, as an inspiration, and in a way, along with that inspiration, with thinking that I had an exuberance about film and the way film was put together and images that moved, cut one next to the other, and it moved. It still amazes me, in a way. And so with all of this, and also this incredible stimuli coming in from films off television. I don't mean television films, I mean films from European films, all sorts of films on TV. American films in the early 60s, not so good, but the treasure trove of American films from 1936 to 1960, because anything before 36, the films were, the copies on TV were horrible. You couldn't, they've only been seen recently in good condition the past 10 years because of the Turner Classic Network. But in any event, with all the, and French and films and English films coming in, suddenly it all clicked. And as one other professor put it there, he says, always do, when you make a short film at a school or when you do your first film, always make sure that it leads you to the most important thing. I said, yeah, I know, that it leads you to the next one. So it'll get you money for the next one. That's the key thing.
Well, that's my question. If you were starting in the way that you did, which called for a few experiments, a few small films before you got up to Mean Streets, and the forbearance to make them, and the chance to really strike out on your own, and you tried to do it in the atmosphere by which most films are made today.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it, but you have to be crazy. You have to be crazy to... No, you have to really be, you know, you have to be set on something. You have to be driven. Crazy. You really have to... you really have to be, I think, a person who wants that, for better or for worse, whatever it does in your life and everything else, you just go for that. At the same time as thinking that maybe you might have something to say that might be of importance to anybody, or maybe just importance to yourself, at least. But you are that... Nothing really... Nothing could, in a sense, stop you. I mean, what I mean by that is the worst reactions, the worst criticism, being attacked by people on the street. I mean, you just, you know, you just want to keep going. That was like some sort of monster, you know. And in a way, so, you know, you become completely taken on. This is, again, the 70s, all the guys in L.A., too. Yeah. We're all like that, you see. And invariably, you do it. It's here, though, what's interesting, not only university, there's so many different now. So I don't even know why I say that, because there's so many. Every university in the country has film courses, and of course, School of the Arts now is very difficult, I would presume, to get into and that sort of thing. But in the case of, I'll never forget. I mean, in the case of even in Taxi Driver, we thought of this. You know, what is possible now, but this is a difficult thing in terms of money. For example, at the university, the short films were sponsored by the school. But it's not just you, Murray. I had to ask my father to take some money for the student loans that we had. And we got a student loan for like $5,000 or $4,000. And my father's a pants presser, you know, in the garment district. And he looked at me, making movies. I mean, you might as well go to the moon. It's not...
Did you feel then that you were making the decision of a lifetime?
Yes, at that point when I did that short film, yeah. Yeah, I felt. I just invariably, in one way or another, I was going to do it. I don't know what, if I'd ever get... I don't know, I was in such a way that it could not be satisfied, so I thought I'd keep going and see what would happen. And invariably, that helped a little bit. But it seems to me now that the university, the admission called and that sort of thing, I was just getting to the point of materials and the idea that there's so much available now that, and even when we thought of Taxi Driver, when we couldn't get Taxi Driver financed, I remember Michael Phillips and myself going to see a video film directed by David Hemmings. Really? You get a little speech. It was one of the first films ever done on video. I forget the name of the film. And being in black and white video at that point, because it would be cheaper, I thought, and we just couldn't get it on film. Yeah. So I'm thinking now, you know,